guys, it's Teenage DC Fan, back with another video. And last week on Batwoman, Kate and the rest of the cast of this show took on Magpie, and Jacob learned the truth about his wife's secrets that she's been keeping from him for 15 years. And it's been a few weeks since we spent much time with the season's big bad, Alice, of course, and this week's episode is out to make up for lost time, both literally and figuratively. So, it's time to head down the rabbit hole. Come for the continued excellence of Alice, the character, like, just the way that the character is portrayed on this show. And then also stay tuned for a drunk Mary that's ranting to Luke about how maybe she should start killing people to get Kate's attention. Great stuff. Yeah, definitely. Quick warning, spoilers ahead for Batwoman Season 1, Episode 5, titled Mine is a Long and Sad Tale. So yes, following last week's minor revelation that Alice's plan involves someone named Mouse, Kate is extremely interested in learning the rest of what her sister returned to Gotham to do. So when it turns out that Alice is the criminal who's been stealing pieces of human skin from corpses throughout the city, Kate heads out to trap her once and for all. The fact that she was able to do so easily probably should have indicated that things weren't as entirely as they seemed. So the rest of the episode involves either Kate or Alice in restraints, as both of them go over the story of how Beth, aka Alice, went from a 13-year-old rich girl to a psychotic killer without anyone in her old life ever learning that she was still alive. And admittedly, she never actually gets all the way through this satisfying explanation, since her story really only gets through a few days of her captivity, but it fills in a few holes along the way. And I gotta say, it's a pretty amazing story. So it's hard to land an entire hour of exposition and flashback, but the way that the Alice's character and lines and the way she talks and the way she acts and how she portrays this story and tells the story really brings it to life. And while we might not entirely understand yet what happened to Beth while she was held in that remote little home with the man and his scarred and creepy but ultimately kind son, but Alice makes us believe that whatever it was enough to drive her to some level of insanity. As for it's more or less a twisted version of Beauty and the Beast, only a version where the Beast's father has convinced him he is too hideous from the outside world, and who steals his son a friend when he comes across a lost little girl who is washed up on a riverside. And of course he locks her up in a basement cell, threatening to kill her family and limiting her access to the outside world. Only the two of them will certainly do a number on the kid. They go mess her up, and that's why she's so messed up. And with the truth about Beth's fate out in the open finally, of course coupled with the fact that Kate and Jacob actually managed to find her for a moment but couldn't follow through on their hunch, the Kanes have been hit with a hefty dose of guilt over their actions more than a decade previous. It's unclear so far what the endgame is going to be for the extremely messed up family, but Alice's plans revolve around hurting them in as many creative ways as possible. And after her birth family gave up looking for her, Beth seems to have adopted Mouse's family as her own, the only thing a captive little girl could do to survive her situation. So Mouse introduced her to Alice in Wonderland, and the two of them built their relationship and identities around the story and the similarities they may have seen in themselves and the characters. Alice, the little girl who finds herself suddenly in a new frightening world, and him, the mouse who helps her find her way. Now, one thing is for certain. Part of Alice's plan does seem to involve allowing Mouse to use his strange ability for mimicry to do something super creepy and probably traumatizing. So elsewhere in the episode, Mary is still one of the best characters on this show, because after her mother breaks the news to her that she faked Beth's death to help Jacob and Kate find some closure, Mary does the only logical thing: binge drink and then show up unannounced at her stepsister's office to annoy her co-workers. And in this case, that means ranting endlessly to Luke about how her mother lied to everyone before realizing Kate is with Alice, thus launching into a whole separate rant about how she's the good sister because do you know how many people she's killed? 0. Hasn't skinned anyone either. But Kate would still rather be with Alice, Beth, whatever we're calling her. And honestly, I've been hoping they were going to put Luke and Mary together since day one. And man, do I hope they keep doing it. Last episode, I liked Mary paired with Sophie, but this week it's Mary and Luke, and, Mary with anybody. Like, you pair her with anybody, and it's amazing. So they didn't have a ton of screen time this week, but Luke as the straight man to Mary's constant drunken jabbering was the perfect comedic antidote to the heaviness of the rest of the episode. Actually, even though this episode ended up being almost entirely expository, it also managed to be a showcase for the 2 best performers so far. Do you think maybe we can get an episode where Alice and Mary face off for most of the runtime? I mean, that would be pretty cool. Alice versus Mary. Oh yeah. But next week, Sophie is in trouble and she knows Kate is Batwoman. Probably. I mean, don't know for sure, but yeah. But overall, this was an amazing episode, honestly. I've been saying that every episode of this show is great and that this is my favorite show, but this really is the best episode so far. And I loved getting to see Alice's backstory and how she became so twisted and evil, and also why she started calling her Alice. And then her relationship with Mouse was nice to see, and I'm interested to see how they're going to play it out with his character going forward. But that's it for this video. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. What did you think of this episode? Thank you so much for watching. Please remember to like, comment, and subscribe, and hope to see you in my next video so I can bestow all my DC knowledge upon you.